Welcome to day 5 of Calmsutra journaling workshop. Now, as you know, every single day we come up with a new concept, new question, new exploration for you to understand different aspects of your own anxiety. Now, when it comes to anxiety, it's a pattern, and I've been saying this over and over again. If you can know the pattern, if you can understand the pattern, then it is easier for you to decode the pattern. And that's the whole idea, to look at this one uncontrollable behavior, break it into 21 different pieces, and every day, step by step, piece by piece, looking at different aspects to break them, looking at different triggers to go beyond them. Today's conversation is about impatience. Now, you may say, how impatience is a valid idea? What exactly happens in it here? Why do we talk about this? No, I looked at the handwriting samples that we collected from this workshop's participant. If you're new to this platform, if you're new to this journaling workshop, the registration link is aditisurana.com/lockdown21. When you register there, we send you a welcome email. Now, in that email, I ask you to send me a handwriting sample in a particular manner. Why do I do that? Because I'm a graphologist, and the whole work, 80% of my work is based on graphology, graphotherapy, which means understanding behaviors based on the study, the subject, the mathematical assessment of personality based on handwriting movements, and thereby also changing certain things, which is also the basis of this workshop. If you've already been a part of it, you already know about it. The S stroke is a part of graphotherapy. So when I was studying the writings, and my team and I, we created a collective report. So we won't be sending you one-on-one feedback for your handwriting, but we are studying each handwriting to see the anxiety patterns, and collectively, whatever the group requires, we would be addressing those issues. And that's how I feel I understand my participants in any workshop closely, and we deliver to the need that they have, or the deeper issues or problems that they're suffering from. So one of the things that stood out for more than 80% handwriting samples is the issue of impatience. Now, there are 3 handwriting traits where we speak about this impatience. First one is where when you write your lowercase letter t, the horizontal line in the T flies off on the right side, or if you draw the line, it is mostly predominated on the right side. So look at your T. If you have sent the sample, look at it. If you haven't sent the sample, look at any handwriting sample that you have written, anywhere you have scribbled, and look for that letter T. Second one is your I dot. If you dot your I, and while dotting it, if you move to the right side instead of dotting it on top of it, if you dot it towards the right side, then that trait also speaks about impatience in your behavior. Now, there is another trait in writing which supports or enhances this impatience, is impulsiveness. And that is found when we write our writings. All our handwritings either are straight, tilting to the left, tilting to the right, depending on what kind of person you are. If it tilts to the right, but not just to the right, but like extreme right, it's almost as if you're falling off the cliff. Imagine the degree or the angle at which the person would stand if it's falling off the cliff. If it is that much tilt, then that talks about impulsive behavior. So if you already have impatience, on top of that your writing is moving to the extreme right, the impulsive and the impatient behavior goes together, and the degree is enhanced. Now, if you have looked at your writing already, and if you found all these 3 traits, now know that your level of impatience would be really, really high. If you have 2 of these traits, then it would be the second degree. If you have 1 of them, then you are impatient. So it's not like that you're not impatient, but it's a degree wise, it is lesser than the first 2. Okay. So when we look at the degree of impatience, we look at the traits of writing, especially as a graphologist, as a team, we do that. Now, you look at your impatience from your behavioral patterns. So let me describe what you do when you are impatient and how do you function. So for me, the quickest way to look at is writing, but also you can assess yourself based on your own behavior. So when you make your so-called to-do list, you walk into things and you want to finish everything right now. You cannot literally wait for things to get done. When other people are being when other people are being inefficient, you absolutely cannot stand it. That gets to you. You want to knock them off, move forward, take things from their hand and do it yourself. It might not happen with everybody, but think of those people that can really get to you. It also happens when somebody, or including your kids, keep asking you repetitive questions. You answer them and you're like, oh my god, I said it 5 times before, or 6th time, okay, 7th time, or 70th time. So you keep repeating the same thing over and over again. And it also happens to adults. Sometimes older people keep repeating their problems and they keep telling you the same stories, and you feel impatience. Now, I look at impatience in a slightly different manner, and this is the perspective or thinking process I'm inviting you to look at impatience from. So first, are you an impatient person, or do you behave uncontrollably impatient, which means when you get impatient, you just cannot stop yourself, cannot control yourself, things just get to you, and that becomes a challenge? If that is so, then today's conversation will really help you. Let's look at the journaling question. So the process that we follow in these workshops is a 3-step process. First step is I talk about this topic, I come up with examples, and I kind of trigger you, I kind of stir the pot in a particular way. This is what we coaches do, and that's also my style, to get people to reflect on the really deep-rooted issues that are otherwise skipped, otherwise thrown under the carpet, otherwise not looked at as a concern area. So first thing first, we talk about this, and I lead you to a question, a journaling question that is worded in a manner that starts going into different direction and keep looking for the areas where you feel stuck. It's worded in that manner. It is solution oriented, but it's also a little twisted in its form. The second step is, before you answer respond to the question, you wait and you get to the S-stroke practice, the beautiful stroke that I have been talking about pretty much forever now, last 1 year specifically. And this stroke is a graphotherapy stroke. It's called Calmsutra stroke, flow of thought stroke, or we also call it SSS stroke. Now what does it do? It allows your mind to step into calmness. It literally induces calmness for you to be in a flow, to look at things. So I open the wound which is hurting, but you're not aware of it because you kept it under your sleeve. Now we are opening the wound. The S stroke is kind of a medicine. It allows your thoughts and your emotions to be more in a flow, in a linear, in a fluid manner, not linear but fluid manner. So we let that flow happen, and we do that for one entire page. Once you're done with it, you set a timer for 15 minutes, just for 15 minutes. You repeat the question 3 times, and then you just go with the flow. You write everything that comes to your mind. So let's revise the process. From the time I've asked the question to the point when you're actually sitting there and responding, you already spent 10-15 minutes doing the entire page. So the processing at the back of the mind has already happened, and the stroke, the way it is designed, requires breath coordination, attention to the formation. So you need to be engaged in it. You really have to be present with the stroke. So by that logic, the thought of the question is there, but it's not fully there. So you're triggered, but you're not acting upon it. So it's kind of like, literally stirring the pot. Now, when you finish the stroke and when you get to responding to the question, that is where the actual process happens. Okay, so when we do it for 21 days in different ways and different questions and different areas, by the 21st day, there are so many layers that you have cleared already, and that's why the process works so effectively. So please stick to the process, and let me get you to the question for the day. Now the question today is, when I am being impatient. So when I say that, which means you will think of, already you've started doing it, all the places where you have been impatient. Now the game of impatience is slightly interesting. Okay, think about it. I caught myself being impatient with people when I had no clue about what I was getting into. For example, if I had to plan my accounting, and I would there was a point I had no clue how to go about it, and I would feel like I would get so impatient about it, and I would get cranky, and I would get irritable. And it took many years for me to understand that every time when we reach this point of doing this accounting work, I am like this cranky monster. And then I'm like, why it happens? Like what gets to me? And then I realized that it's not only applicable to accounting, but so many other areas where I lack clarity, or I lack skill, or I lack knowledge. So there is something that I lack in the moment that does not allow me to be comfortable in my shoes, and instead of addressing the issue, I cover it up by being impatient. Now, is it applicable to you? Think about it. Is there something that you do that when you don't know how to deal with the situation? So when we are doing the live today, somebody asked this question, and she said, I get impatient with certain type of people when I meet them or when I socialize, and I get all my anger or irritation, I throw it on my family member. So what is about that? And we spoke about this whole idea that when you get impatient with one person because that person's behavior, belief system, attitude, way of speaking is something that you do not like, but instead of confronting it, or instead of dealing with it or not engaging with them and dealing with the consequences of it, you just avoid doing all of that and stand there and pretend to be okay with it, but the irritation gets to you and it has to go somewhere, so it goes on your family member. Now, that's the point to keep in mind, because when we do not address something that we lack clarity, that we lack knowledge, that we lack skill set on, we tend to get impatient. Think of all the lovely moments you have had when you fell in love, when you spend time with people you really enjoy, or when your first baby was born, or the initial time when you spent with your child. Now all these moments you live as if they were happening in a slow motion. You can relive them. You remember the music around, you remember the fragrance, you remember the details, because you can savor them even now, because when they were happening you were present to those moments. You're fully involved in that process. You couldn't have not you couldn't have been anywhere in the world but to be in that moment. And this is where the whole beauty of engagement is, or patience is. So patience is not like the superpower that we are talking about. Patience is the degree of involvement that you have in that relationship, that activity, that person, that it doesn't matter how long it takes, or longer the better. You want to hang around that person or spend more and more time, because it is beautiful. That whole presence with that other person or that activity, or while reading that book, is so beautiful that you don't want to do anything else, right? So let's understand and break impatience. Instead of saying I'm an impatient person, I can't stand it, or only because my to-do list is long I do it. So the question is, think of all these moments where you have been impatient, and whether you have tea like that or not, just think about impatience, okay? And ask yourself, in these impatient moments, what am I trying to avoid here? And let me repeat this question. In the moment of impatience, what am I trying to avoid here? The very moment you look at this, and you'll understand, oh, impatience is not only about that one area or that one person. It's about me avoiding. If you do not know the skill set of getting work done from somebody who lacks the skill completely, then impatience is what you use. You use it to be controlling in the moment when you are out of control. Let me repeat this. Control is when you know how to go about things and how to deal with them. But controlling is when you have no clue and you do everything in your capacity to clutch onto things and hold them too tightly, just because you believe that something will go on. Now, when you are going through anxiety, this happens a lot, that when your mind is not on your side and it is not supporting you and it's not necessarily helping you to come up with the best possible solution, you believe keeping the hold of external things will create that harmony somehow. And it doesn't work. You and I know this. It doesn't work. But because we can't control the internal part, we think at least controlling the external part or people we can control will get us to feeling in control somehow. It does not work. We know it. You have tried it. I have tried it. We know it doesn't work. So here is the point. On that question, we're going to pause and we're going to move to the next stage, which is the graphotherapy practice for one entire page. I've done half page while doing the live, and I'm reshooting this video because we had some technical error. So I'm going to move to the graphotherapy part, and as the process goes, you watch the video. Now you will do the graphotherapy practice. I'm going to walk 5 minutes of this practice with you, just to make sure that you understand the process and you experience it for yourself. So if you are watching this for the first time, grab a ruled book and a ballpoint pen. Even if you haven't learned the stroke properly, just give it a shot while doing it with me and see how you feel. If you like, if you register to this process, we'll send you the links for you to watch the whole explanation video so that you understand and you get on with the program. You know, graphotherapy is not looked at as a therapy, and 17 years ago I found my connect with it. I found some amazing case study, including my mother who was diabetic type 2, went off her medicines, and it just blew my mind. Since then I have experimented with it and built all my research on using graphotherapy for people to find the balance, for people to change different parts of their perspective, their behavior, their personalities, to go beyond their limitations. So that's the game I love to play. That's my pursuit, that's my passion. That's what makes me blush every single time I talk about it. I don't know how it works, but that's exactly how it happens. So when we do graphotherapy, the mechanism works at a deeper level. So I keep talking about it because I want newer and newer people to understand how simple this technique is, especially their stroke. So even if you have doubts about it, that's okay. You don't have to believe it for it to work. You don't have to believe me for it to work. All you got to do is do the practice for you to see how it is working for you or not. Give it 7 days and then decide. So even if you join the module and try it for 7 days and then you drop it, that's okay. But if something as simple as this can alter the way you process your information, your impatience levels, your anxiety levels, then I believe it's worth the shot. Okay, so let's get to the stroke. So that is your step 2. After we finish the video, set the timer for 15 minutes and answer the question. All you got to do is repeat the question. Let me repeat the question for you one more time. Think of places where you feel impatient, people, situation, type of work, and ask yourself, when I am impatient with these things or these people or these areas, what am I trying to avoid here? Okay, let's get to the stroke as step 2 of this process. And once you're done with one page of stroke, you're gonna set the timer and respond to this question in a handwritten style. No typing, no making digital notes. It's a physical mind-body coordination that will lead to the catharsis that we are talking about. I will see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock with one more conversation around anxiety. So set the time from 4 to 4:30 for us to walk this journey together, and happy writing. Let's get to the stroke right now. So here we are doing the stroke practice. It begins by you breathing deeper than your normal breath. So do not try to be, trying to figure this out. Just breathe slightly deeper than your normal breath. And as you breathe, you start doing the stroke. As you do the stroke, you have to follow all the four instructions that are given to you. All the 4 instructions are important. The loops, the beginning and end of the stroke, the way the flow goes. If your hand stops at any point in time, you simply pick your pen and you start the new stroke as if you're writing a new word. So there is nothing, there's no struggle about it. Do not drag your hand by stopping, because it doesn't matter how long the stroke is. It's not about what you're doing, it's about how you feel when you do it. So the amount of connection that you will have with yourself while doing the stroke will make this particular practice even more powerful. Breathe slightly deeper than normal. Let me tell you or remind you that yes, your mind will go all over the place while you're doing the stroke. But like meditation, you're not expecting the mind to be calmer or not think or not have a single thought. None of that. With that thought, let your mind do what it has to do. You continue your movement. one of the thoughts will be to get back to your practice, and with that thought, come back and pay attention to the practice and to your breath. Initially, it will be difficult, your hand will hurt, and let it hurt. But you stick around, it's like new workout. Like we do not write nowadays, it's difficult for our minds to accept a new skill like that, but just do it as if you're doing a workout session. This I call like a mental workout session. Breathe slightly deeper than normal. When you start, make sure that you complete an entire page of this S-stroke practice. That is important. I'm gonna stop here and I will see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And in the next conversation, we'll talk about one more aspect of anxiety and how you can go beyond it. My small request to you, my friend, is to make sure that you understand that the whole anxiety pattern and everything that we are dealing with here is in your hands. Other people, other experts, including myself, can give you ways in which you can break the code. But you are the creator, you are the writer of your script, you are the designer of it. So the day you decide that you want to go beyond it, it is very difficult for any mental mechanism to stand in your way. So your journey of redesigning all of this is in your hands. And when we use graphotherapy, we use the mechanism of mind and body to push our own limitations, to go beyond the old patterns. So give it a shot. I hope you like it. I also request you to share this initiative that we have, especially in COVID times where people are suffering with their mental challenges in COVID. So many COVID patients are reporting that they're having great benefits after doing the practice. So go ahead, share this with those people who are right now in stress. That would be of great help for them and for us to take the work to people who are supposed to learn this thing and transform. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Bye-bye. Happy writing.